Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. And Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Mr. Pan Paramahansa Buddhikacharya Ashtotar that Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Buddhikacharya Ashtotar that Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktavinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Narayan Namaskritya Narang Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire. Before reciting this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should offer our respectful obeisances unto Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Nashta Prayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on Srimad Bhagavatam, by rendering devotional service to the pure devotee, all that is inauspicious within the heart is destroyed almost to nil, and loving devotion to the Supreme Lord, who is glorified in the best of songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. So somehow or other, the verse was not written. So if you have a device, you can try to find it on there. It's 9:3:21. Yes, 9th canto, 3rd chapter, text 21. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 27th day of October, 2025 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are in Canto 9, Liberation. Chapter 3, the marriage of Sukanyā and Cyavana Muni. Text number 21. Katam matis te avagatan yata satam kula pasute kula dushanam tvidam bibarshi jaram yad apattapa kulam pitush chabartush cha nayasi adhas tamaha katam matiste bhagatan yatha satam kula prasute kula dushanam tvidam bibarshi jarang yadapattapakulam pitushta bhartushchana yasya dastamaha akatam mitiste bhagatan yatha satam kula prasute kula dushanam tvidam bibarshi jarang yadapattapakulam pitushta bhartushchana yasya dastamaha katam matiste bhagatan yatastam kula pasute kula dushanam tvidam bibarshi jaram yadapattapakulam pitushta bhartushchana yasya dastamaha katam matiste bhagatan yatha satam kula prasute kula dushanam tvidam bibarshi jaram yadapattapakulam pitushta bhartushchana yasya dastamaha katam matiste bhagatan yatha satam kula pasute kula dushanam tvidam bibarshi jaram yadapattapakulam pitushta bhartushchana yasya dastamaha katam matiste bhagatan yatha satam kula pasute kula dushanam tvidam bibarshi jaram yadapattapakulam pitushta bhartushchana yasya dastamaha. Sahadev, can you do it? Katam matiste bhagatan yatha satam kula pasute kula dushanam tvidam bibarshi jaram yadapattapakulam papushta bhartushchana yasya dastamaha. Ladies. Katam matiste bhagatan yatha satam kula pasute kula dushanam tvidam bibarshi jaram yadapattapakulam pitushta bhartushchana yasya dastamaha. No? Okay. Katam, how? Matihi te, your consciousness, avagata, has gone down, anyata, otherwise, satam, of the most respectable, kula pasute, O my daughter, born in the family, kuladushanam, who are the degradation of the family, tu, but, idam, this, bibarshi, you are maintaining, jaram, a paramour, yet, as it is, apattapa, without shame, kulam, the dynasty, pituhu, of your father, cha, and, bhartahu, of your husband, cha, and, nayasi, you are bringing down, adak tamaha, downward into darkness or hell. Translation. O my daughter, who were born in a respectable family, how have you degraded your consciousness in this way? How is it that you are shamelessly maintaining a paramour? You will thus degrade the dynasties of both your father and your husband to hellish life. Purport. It is quite clear that according to Vedic culture, a woman who accepts a paramour or second husband in the presence of the husband she has married is certainly responsible for the degradation of her father's family and the family of her husband. The rules of Vedic culture in this regard are strictly observed in the respectable families of Brahmins, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas even today. Only the Shudras are degraded in this matter. For a woman of the Brahmin, Kshatriya, or Vaishya class to accept another husband in the presence of the husband she has married, or to file for divorce or accept a boyfriend or paramour, is unacceptable in the Vedic culture. Therefore, King Śaryāti, who did not know the real facts of Cyavana Muni's transformation, was surprised to see the behavior of his daughter. Om jnana timirandasya jnanandana shalakaya chakshur unmilitam mena tasmai shri gurave namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So, those who have been keeping up with this story, we find that this Sukanyā, the daughter of Śaryāti, had seen a couple of shining elements in a bush, and she pierced them. And it turns out this was Cyavana Muni. He was doing that. He was in there. It changed his form. Great yogi. And he came out and he cursed. He didn't curse her, but no. He didn't. He was just very angry, and her father. So what am I going to do? So he gave her to him. He was an old man, everything was slack, but still he thought that would mollify him, and then that would negate the offense, which it did. But he wasn't so happy with that. He was an old man, she was a young girl. So the Ashwini Kumaras came by, and he knew that they had certain powers, so he said, please give me a youthful body. I know you can do that. And so they did. So now he had a nice youthful body to go with his nice youthful wife, Sukanyā. But father came along, what is his name, Śaryāti? Yes, King Śaryāti. And he didn't know that this was Cyavana transformed. He just thought that his wife wasn't happy with the old Cyavana and she'd found someone else. So this is what this verse is all about. He's chastising her. But then in the next verses and so she'll reveal, no, this is actually Cyavana Muni. He's been transformed, so the king was very happy. So what lessons are we going to draw from this? The only thing I can really draw from this is the desperate and illusory effort to try to ward off the ravages of time. I was just thinking of the multi-billion dollar industry, of Botox and all kinds of treatments surgery that people go through to try to keep themselves looking younger so that they can continue to enjoy sex life, usually illicit sex life. So this is what the material world is all about. As Krishna says very distinctly in the 13th chapter, one very important element of knowledge in text 8 through 11, in the third, he gives this whole list of essentials of knowledge. The first one is humility. Amanidvam, adambitvam. That's the second one. Adambitvam is pride, or it really means also hypocrisy. Adambam. Adama means freedom from hypocrisy. So in that list is this famous one, which you probably all know, Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadi Dukkha Doshanu Darshanam. That real knowledge, if someone is in real knowledge, then he is aware of. Anudarshan means to observe and to be aware of it all the time. The evils. Now, evil here doesn't mean an evil person or someone who's a bad. Evil means something that causes pain. That's another meaning of it. Birth, old age, disease, and death. Now, I assume all of us have forgotten how painful it was for us to take birth and how painful it was for the mother. They don't forget. They know what it's like. But the pre-birth process, and probably at this point, when I hear, because I hear lectures all the time, and he talks about birth, and he says, it's painful to be in the womb, to be crunched up like that, 7 months and everything. Of course we forgot it. That's one of Krishna's blessings. But it's also painful for the mother to give birth. That's another aspect, the other side of it. So, and then, you're born, and who knows what's going to happen. If you're born into a pious family, you have good karma, then you can be raised like here, in a Brahminical family. And we know that if you practice Krishna consciousness in your previous life, then nothing is lost. And so in your next life, you'll have a chance to take it up again, especially if you're born into a devotee family, which is ideal. And that's what Prabhupada did. When he came to America, he didn't really know what to expect. But then he saw that many of the young people coming to him, they were couples, especially when he went to the West Coast. In New York, it was mostly, single men. But when he went to the West Coast, there was the flower children, the hippie era was in full swing. And the boys came with their girlfriends, and they were chanting and dancing. So what to do? Well, he said, okay, if you're really serious about it being devotees, you want to become initiated, then you'll have to get married, and there are certain ways to do that, and then rules within marriage and the whole thing. So he had some very wonderful, householder devotees who did tremendous amount of service. I always think, when I first think of that, I always think of those 6 devotees, the 3 couples who went to England and pioneered the preaching there, And Shyama Sundar was uniquely skilled, and he was able to meet George Harrison, and they got, the Beatles going, and they created a record and before you know it, Hare Krishna was the household word all over Europe. So he was very, proud of them and very appreciated their service so much, And he eventually came to England. The whole story. Srila Prabhupada. So, and when I lived in LA from 75 to almost all of 78, working on the magazine and working on the 17 books in 2 months and all that. And I saw so many wonderful household couples. They had facility to live in the community, work in the community, and be supported there, with I don't know if they got a stipend or something, but basically it was all volunteer work. And so much service. And Prabhupada often points out in this regard how Lord Chaitanya's devotees in Navadvip, they were practically all householders. Beginning with Srivas Thakur and so many others. And Lord Chaitanya was in household life for some time, So household life doesn't have to be, like in the modern age, really a source of degradation is what it is. And in these days, I don't know if you're following this, but fewer people are getting married, and if they do, they're getting married later, And there's a tremendous reluctance to have kids. because they're so expensive. And also there's this idea that, you know, with climate change and everything, who knows what's going to happen. It's a disaster. So there's a big crisis developing in certain countries right now of lack of young people to take care of the old people. China did this, you know, the one child program, you know. Well, great. Now they have those one children growing up into middle and old age, but there's not enough young people to take care of them, to pay into a system like Social Security. And the same thing is happening in America. So the modern age, which is fraught with, you know, so much, how can I gratify my senses immediately? And if I'm losing my youth, okay, let me take this pill or do this, you know, get my facelift and Botox and somehow preserve it. Prabhupada would often mention how really pathetic it is and tragic. You have old men, and he saw this in Europe especially, they're going to clubs or anywhere, you know, and paying $50, which was a lot in those days, so that they could see naked dance, you know, they could see, you know, like that. So this illusion of Maya, of immediate sense gratification, is causes the degradation of society, and completely eclipses one's interest even in spiritual life. You know, this is in basic Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna asks, 3rd chapter, very important section of the 3rd chapter near the end. He says, Atakena prayuktoyam papam charari purusha anichanna vivashnaya baladi vinayojita. What, oh Krishna, what is it that seems to impel us to perform sinful activities that we know are against our best interests, as if by force, you know? And of course the answer is kama. It is kama, you know, ultimately means much more than just sex desire. But it means any powerful desire that really covers your intelligence and forces you to do it. The drugs, you know, which are still everywhere, and you get entangled in that, and you realize, you know, in moments of sanity that, well, what am I doing to my life? But the senses are forcing you, and the mind is forcing you to indulge again and again and again. And you see, we've had experience. I remember there was one fellow. It's quite a story, because I used to visit Alachua all the time. And some of you who go there, you know, there's a very nice devotee named Adi Karta there from England. A wonderful book distributor. He's initiating guru now, and his wife is a very wonderful cook, and you know, nice devotees. So he had 2 sons. I don't know if he had any daughters or not. And the older son went to Gurukul in Mayapur. And then eventually, somehow or other, he got into drinking alcohol. And that was messing him up. So he sent him here, because I would visit him all the time, and he liked me. He thought, well, he could get some good association. So he came here, and he would come to the temple, and I would, you know, talk to him. And he found an AA in one of these churches up here, these 2 main churches. They've been here since the 40s, actually. And there was a well-known and well-attended AA program up there. So he found, he was doing some preaching up there, and he found one guy who he wasn't so much an alcoholic as a cocaine addict, but he was going there anyway. And he got interested and started coming down here to visit, you know. And I would give evening class all the time, and he started attending. He really liked the classes. But one thing about it is that he couldn't sit through the class. His brain was so messed up from the cocaine, he would have to get up and walk around in the patio for a while and come back. It was really, you know, it was tragic. So eventually, we didn't see him anymore. And years later, just maybe 6 months ago, or now maybe it's 12, you know, 9 months, he came back to visit me. And they told him where I lived. He saw me, came knock at the apartment. Oh, come on in, you know. And the poor guy was still, you know, bewildered, and he had a crisis at hand, because he had come to PB for some other reason and parked his car. Now he couldn't remember where he parked his car. Well, what could I do? But boy, I can't help you, you know, and everything. So it's just a tragic situation. He had some interest in Krishna consciousness, but he couldn't proceed. He was injured, you know, his mind and brain were injured. So this is the common in the modern day, because there are so many ways in which you can go, down and become addicted. I mean, pornography can be an addiction. Gambling is an addiction, and what to speak of, actually heavy drugs. So it all springs from this lack of any spiritual structure in your life, or understanding that human life is meant for not doing these things and cultivating spiritual knowledge. So Prabhupada saw this. He confronted this when he was there, LSD and all these things happening. So he was constantly preaching on this point. And it really begins with understanding the great good fortune of human life. There's so many verses about that. I always quote this one. Labdva sudurlamam idam bahusambhavante manushya marta dhamma apiya dhira turnam yatetana patetana mityaba nikshaya saya vishayakala sarvataksya. I think it's spoken by Krishna 11th. It's from the 11th canto. So it's just one of these wake-up verses. Labdva sudurlamam idam bahusambhavante manusham. You have attained the very difficult to attain, after many, many births, human form of life, manusham. Why is it so valuable? Artha dham. Because it can give you the final artha, the final goal of human life, of life in general. That goal is, of course, to get out of here and go back home, back to Godhead, to attain self-realization, God-realization, Krishna consciousness. But it's temporary like all the other forms, anityam. So one has to be dhira. Now, if you recall, in the beginning of Krishna's instructions in the Bhagavad Gita, this word is used in several verses. In that famous one, which devotees often memorize first, Dehi nosmin, yata dehe, komaram yovanam jara, tata deharam prabdiya, dhiras tattva namuyati. Exactly. So the dhira here is meant to be Arjuna. The way the first translation was, the way it was written, a self-realized soul is not bewildered by such a change. Well, he's talking about the soul. The soul is the one who's leaving his body. I always thought that was that soul who's not bewildered. But no, he's trying to get Arjuna not to be bewildered by all the so-called death that's going to happen, because nobody dies. Nobody's going to die, right? That's even before that. He says, you and I have existed forever. We exist now, and all these kings and fighters, they all exist, and they're all going to exist in the future. As souls. This is a very important understanding and vision. So that word dhira. So in this verse it says that, human being, you have attained, after many, many births, bahusambhavante, this very rare and valuable human form of life. Artadam. It can give you the ultimate goal of life, which is to get out of this birth and death syndrome, samsara chakra, and attain the ultimate good fortune, nikshaya, which is self-realization, God-realization, going back to Godhead, ending all of this pain and suffering. So he goes on, Artadam anityam apiya dhira, turnam. Turnam is a wonderful word. It means don't waste any time, immediately. You see? Because you waste time, you get bewildered again, and you can waste your life. So turnam yateta, immediately strive. This is what Krishna consciousness is all. Immediately strive. Yateta napatedanam, as long as your body's still alive. For what? The ultimate good. Nikshayasa. We know there's prayas and shreyas, right? Prayas is immediate pleasure, and shreyas is better, ultimate pleasure, But in a material context, it can be the difference between, okay, give up the video games and get down and study, okay? Because so you can get into a good school. Otherwise, you'd be a bum on the street and you see all these homeless people, That's kind of a material way of looking at it. But the ultimate shreya, here there's no confusion, nikshayasa, means ultimate good. So strive for that ultimate good. Because after all, Vishaya Karatam, you experienced all varieties of sense gratification before, Vishaya. And look where it's gotten you, another material body. That's what that gets you, another birth. And usually, especially in this age, in the human birth. So now you have this treasure, so use it. Now the other one is the boat. This is the verse Krishna speaks. There's others, there's quite a few, but this one comes to mind. And Prabhupada quote it all the time. Nirdehimadyam sulabam sudurlabam plabam sukalpam gurukarna dharam mayanukulena nabasviteditam puman bhavabdim natadet sa atmaha. So he gives a very important contrast here. So nirdeham means human body, naradeham, nirdeham. Adyam is full of opulences and other wealth that does not in other bodies. Ajim is very highly qualified. Sulabham Sudurlabham. This is a play on words because those words are opposite. Sulabham means easy to attain. Sudurlabham means very difficult to attain. So how could it be both? Well, here's the context. Sulabham means every soul eventually comes to the human form. So everyone gets a chance. There's no eternal damnation. Everyone gets a chance to come back. Even if you commit grave sin, you'll come back, human form. Sulabham Sudurlabham, but it's rare. Probably there's only 400,000 species of human life. But forget the species for a while. What about the actual instances? So, okay, there's 8 billion human beings on the earth today. I always point out, on some major lawn, say any baseball field, there's at least that many living entities. Each one of those pieces of grass, assuming it's not astroturf, is a living entity who used to be like us from the spiritual world. So it's rare to have the human form of life. And so you don't want to waste it. That's the whole Sulabham Sudurlabham, Plavam Sukalpam, a very nicely appointed boat, Plavam Sukalpam, but it needs a guru. Who's the guru? Guru Karnadara. Somehow the word Karnadara, I don't know what this means, something's hanging on the ear, but it means a captain. So that's the guru, that's the genuine guru who can guide you. What about the favorable winds? No motors in this boat. It's all, one of these sailboats, big sailboat. Mayanukulena Basviteratam. You have favorable winds spoken by me as the Vedas and all of the Bhagavad Gita and everything else. And those who are repeating my words, in other words, that's where the favorable winds are. Nabasviteratam. So then the verdict is Pumam Bhavabdim Natare. That human being who doesn't cross over the ocean of birth and death is Atmaha. This comes up again. It means committing suicide, spiritual suicide. So we don't want to do that. So the whole, all our literature and our practices and everything are geared, and Srila Prabhupada came to give us the chance to give to those who are receptive, who can, whose hearts were clear enough so that he could plant the seed of the creeper of bhakti. Because that's how we get it, the Bhakti Lata Bija, which begins with faith, in chanting the holy name, interest, and like that. So we're are those living entities, those human beings who have the good fortune to have some interest and be serious. We should be very serious about actually crossing the ocean, completing the course, actually going back to Godhead. And what is the price? This is another one of my favorite verses. What is the price for actually attaining this pure love for Krishna that takes us back to Godhead? Raise your hand. Greed. Greed is good. There was one thing, a slogan in a crazy movie. I never saw it, but I heard about it. So, greed for material things keeps you bound here. But that same greed for love of Godhead will take you back to Godhead. I love this verse because the first line was Prabhupada's inspiration for the phrase Krishna consciousness. It says, how's it go? Krishna Bhakti Dasa, thank you. Krishna Bhakti Dasa Bhavitamati Kriyatam Yadikutopi Labhyate Tatta Laulyam Apimulyam Ekalam Janmakoti Sukatayana Labhyate. It's actually composed by Ramananda Roy, but all included in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu by Rupa Goswami. So that first phrase, just take it apart. Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavitamati. Bhavita means absorption of the mind, mati, in Krishna Bhakti Rasa, in the mellow of serving Krishna. So that's Krishna consciousness. That's where the phrase Krishna consciousness came from. So that's what we're looking for. The mind, otherwise the material mind gets absorbed in so many things. And that's the engine of our bondage in this material world. It's all the mind. Bhujan Prabhu has wonderful lectures on, about this. It's emphasizing it's all the mind. It's the mad mind. We have to tame the mind. It's obvious, but it's important to emphasize it. So Krishna Bhakti Bhavatamati Kriyatam. You should buy it. Yadikutopi Labhyate, if you can get the price for it. What's the price? Tatra laulyam api mulyam. Laulyam is a word for greed. The mulyam price is greed. Laulyam api mulyam ekalam is the only price. Mulyam ekalam janma koti sukataya nalabhyate. Millions of births of pious activity, materially pious activity, won't get you that love for, or absorption in bhakti rasa. Which is, if you do that on this stage, then you're going back to guided, because that's what sort of takes. So, how to cultivate that? So, Bhagavatam is the prime shastra, most important shastra. Lord Chaitanya recognized it as the actual commentary on Vedanta Sutra. Vedanta means the ultimate knowledge, Veda Anta, the supreme knowledge, it's personal. Although there's that impersonal commentary by Shankaracharya, which has become very famous and is the basis of the Mayavadis, still going, But no, just as the ultimate point of the Bhagavad Gita is a personal relation with Krishna. He sums it all up in the end. Sarva dhamma parityajya mame kam sharanam vraja. Just surrender unto me, I will protect you from all sinful actions, take you back to guided. And what does that surrender consist of? Manmana bhavamad bhakto manjaji mam namaskaru. Just think of me, become devoted, worship me, and bow down low. You'll come to me, O friend, I promise you this boon I shall bestow. So we're all ultimately and originally friends of Krishna. We're from the spiritual world. We all had an intimate relationship. But we lost that, and we're directing that love and that affection and an attachment to things and entities of this world, which is the tight knots in the heart that keep us bound to this world. So the Bhagavatam is full of verses describing how we have to cut those knots. And one of my favorites is in the teachings of the four Kumaras to Maharaj Prithu in the fourth canto. So it goes like this. It says, Yat para pankaja palasha valasa bhaktya karmashayam gutitam udgutayanti santa tadvanna rikta matayo yatayo viruddha sroto ganastamadadam bhajavasudevam. Can everyone understand those last two words? Therefore, you should worship Vasudeva, Krishna. I heard Prabhupada give a lecture on this, and he kept chanting that first verse. He was just relishing that Pada Pankaja Palasha Vilasa Bhakti Vilasa. It was great. So what he's saying is there, Pada Pankaja Palasa Vilasa Bhaktya. The devotees, they relish the taste of serving the lotus feet of the Lord. It's some Pada Pankaja, of course, is the you know what the word Pankaja literally means? Why it means lotus? Can anyone figure it out? Yeah. Born in the mud, at the bottom of a lake or bottom of a river. Pankaja. So that's one of, I looked it up in the dictionary, like 24 different words for lotus in Sanskrit. It's such a popular thing. So Pada Pankaja, so the lotus feet, Palasha, the petals, in the toes, Vilasa Bhaktya, enjoying the pleasure of serving with love the lotus feet of Krishna. Pada Pankaja Vilasa Bhaktya. Karma shayan gutitam udgutayanti santa. What is the result if you can do that? Karma shayan means hopes for enjoying material activity. Karma shaya. Gratitam, which are hard knots. You see? Hard knots in the heart. Udgutayanti. The hard knots become untied or cut by cultivating that taste of serving Krishna's lotus feet. Santa, and it's the saints, it's the devotees who do it. Santa is the same word as saint. We're sitting in San Diego, you go north, you get Santa Fe. I mean, right? It's the same word in Spanish and English and Sanskrit. So then, but on the other side, tadvanarikta matayo, for those whose minds are devoid of any bhakti, yatayo piruddha, they're struggling very hard, with the senses and the mind and their life in general. So they stay bound in this round of birth. So therefore, what's the final instruction? Worship Krishna, Bhajavasudevam. And in this way, cut those knots. That's a very graphic image, and it's used again and again. The Hridaya Granti, knots in the heart. So that's my little disquisition on this. I didn't know what exactly to say. This is a interesting verse. the Bhagavatam, everything ultimately relates to Krishna and Krishna consciousness. And this business, getting younger and still being able to enjoy, and then finally we'll see that it's frustrating. In the long run, there's no pleasure in this body. You can't enjoy anything, and then you have to face, if you're just, you have no credits in devotional service, the results of your activities, both in this life and previous lives. And it can be, I just shudder to think, I'm not going to name any names, but I grew up during the Vietnam War, and like years of my life was spent, thinking of how to oppose it and demonstrate against it. But there were some people, and you may know them by history, who were very instrumental in keeping that war going, and bombing and bombing and bombing, literally killing thousands and thousands and thousands of innocent people, including children. This Iraqi business we had at the early part of this century. Anyway, this is just so horrible to hear this. It turns out, we not only would we attack them and bomb them and everything, but we were having a blockade, basically. We wouldn't let anything in, including medicine. So it turned out that 500,000, it's mind-boggling to think, 500,000 children died unnecessarily because of our blockade. And then they asked the Secretary of State, she was a woman, this is years later, well, do you think that was worth it? He said, yeah, we think it was worth it. You can imagine what a fate that is, So this is the trap. If you don't, adopt the principles of devotional service in your life seriously, then you inevitably become entangled. If you're paying some tax, then where's that tax money going to be used? So this is, the only safe place in the world is within this movement and seriously practicing the lotus feet of Krishna. Otherwise, there's no way of not being implicated in the horrors of this age. So that's why we have our wonderful gift that Srila Prabhupada gave, the movement, the books, the mantra, the association, the paintings. He was so enthusiastic for that. And, I had a taste, because when I was in Brooklyn, I spent my first years in Henry Street, Brooklyn. We had the Vaikuntha players, because we had devotees who had been members of act on Broadway or off Broadway, joining the temple, and there were some really nice plays that they were putting on. Probably loved it, There's a picture of him sitting in the gallery where we put on the plays, and he's just smiling like anything. There was the marriage of Rukmini, and the lady who was playing Rukmini had been an actor, off Broadway actress. She was very skilled, And so anyway. So, yes, plays are definitely part of it. Lord Chaitanya would take part in plays. He would sometimes play the goddess of fortune, sometimes, yeah. You could read the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So it's very bona fide. Okay, I'll end there. Any questions, comments, objections? We could have a big kirtan. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for your wonderful class. I had a question about what you say, those massive bombs that kill a lot of souls in a way. The bodies. Do you think that those persons that their body died had some kind of karma, that they were born in that place?
The children?
Like all yeah.
Yeah, it's all karma, there's no doubt, but it's still horrible. It's not, if you're killing someone, and to rob them, their karma is to get robbed, and your karma is going to be really horrible, from killing someone. Just because they happen to have bad karma doesn't mean that you can take it upon yourself to torture them and everything like that. You become an agent of their karma, but it's still part of your karma. So it's a big web. It's a big web of action, reaction, and unless you're actually acting on Krishna's behalf, and then you have the mass death on at Kurukshetra. But Krishna makes it very clear: nobody's dying. This is the world is overgrown with too many miscreants. So sometimes he has these mass, with Jarasandha so many times and everything. So there's no evil there, but that's the material world that it degrades, And then by Krishna's, the different ages coming back to the Satya Yuga, it can become more sattvic. But at this point, even at the beginning of the Kali Yuga, it's very horrific. Go ahead, Maharaj.
Can you please read again the translation?
Yeah.
So I have a question about that.
So it's Sukanyā is the daughter, right?
Yes.
Obviously. Yeah. So it's the father. Oh, my daughter, who were born in a respectable family, how have you degraded your consciousness in this way? How is it that you are shamelessly maintaining a paramour? You will thus degrade the dynasties of both your father and your husband to hellish life.
Now my question, if she's cheating on her husband, that was paramour, is not very common, of course.
Well, it used to be.
It's an English word, maybe. Means lover. She's keeping a lover, She's cheating on the husband.
Well, it looks like that. But she's not.
Of course, was the husband. She was not cheating.
Yeah, father.
He just became young, and the father didn't know what happened.
Yeah.
So, but it's interesting that the father is saying you're condemning your husband family to hell. Why, if she's doing something wrong, why the husband his family suffer hell because of her? Why?
Yeah, let me look at the Sanskrit here. Yeah, Bhartu. Pitu and Bhartu.
And her own family and the family of her husband are going to suffer darkness, hell, whatever. Why they have to suffer for her misdeed?
I don't know. The father, maybe because he didn't train her better. In other words, he's got some responsibility in training her, and he's aghast that she's doing it. He doesn't know that it's okay, that she's done this. You weren't trained this way. What are you doing? You're violating all the principles I taught you about chastity and faithfulness. That's the way he's thinking. So he feels, well, I'll be held responsible for not training you enough. So there's some karma there. How the husband is going to be degraded, his family, I don't know. Poor Cyavana Muni. He's thinking Cyavana is off somewhere else, obviously. He doesn't see this as Cyavana. So I can't answer that. I don't know. It's a mystery. One of the many mysteries from the Bhagavatam.
Can I offer a possible solution?
Sure.
Is that we have seen that, at least in modern times, when have seen it, may happen, not necessarily always, but it may happen, that when the wife cheats on the husband and they break up, they divorce, whatever, sometimes the husband becomes, discouraged and loses interest in his spiritual life and start chasing after girls and things like that,
Yeah.
So he become demoralized because of the action of his ex-wife.
Right.
So that may be a possibility.
So the mode of ignorance becomes prominent, and he deviates.
Yeah, he deviated because he demoralized by the misbehavior of his wife.
Right.
So that's a possibility.
Yeah. Okay. Give him a mic. We only have one. There's one over there too.
I mean, also maybe just another thing in relation to this is, at least traditionally, the idea was that the husband was seen as, they have a term, right? Does anyone remember the term? Guru Patni, is that what it's called?
Guru Patni?
Or what is it? Guru, not Patni. Patni means wife. I think it's Guru Pati. Pati means husband.
Uh-huh.
Anyways, the traditional idea is that the guru is a type of a husband. Excuse me, the husband is a guru for the wife and the family. So that the wife is deviating, he's karmically involved in that. In her deviation, so therefore it could bring some hellish consequence like that.
Yeah,
that's another thing.
mention that Brahmana, Kshatriya, and Vaishya.
Yeah, that's brought out in the purport.
Yeah, so that Prabhupada saying the purport, that means that in the Shudra that was more common thing to happen.
Yeah,
cheating and keeping lovers and all these things. Yeah. But not on the upper classes.
Exactly.
So
yeah, they can all get thread initiation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we have a question in the front here. Boy, it's a lot of questions.
I just had a quick question about, I guess I'm not sure if I'm understanding right. Like, is the Muni, like, is he considered like a materialistic kind of Muni? Because he's
Cyavana Muni?
Yeah, because he's wanting to have a young body, but which seems like a material desire. But like he's also a sage, so I guess I wasn't sure how.
Yeah, you find that a lot. I mean, that you don't get a sense here. I don't know. I mean, I'm not familiar with anything else about Cyavana Muni here, but he wasn't known, as far as I can recall, as some leader in Vaishnava or something like that. But he was a sage. He was respectable, and everything, and so he should have been respected, and he was. It was his idea to get the young body. Right, to do that.
Well, actually, I may offer a comment.
Yeah.
That desire to become young was part of religious principles. Because he married a young princess, and naturally she has desire to have children, naturally. And how an old man can fulfill those desires. So he's acting according to Dharma, according to religious principles, in the sense to give children to his wife, he has to become young.
Yeah.
To fulfill her. It is the duty of the husband to give children to the wife if she wants to. That is religious principle.
Yeah.
So we have to see it from this point of view, not of the point of view of detachment. Oh, he wanted to marry, he's in Maya. We are in Maya. For not understanding Vedic culture. Vedic culture doesn't mean, Vedic culture actually, people were so religious, they will have sex only for having children, nothing else. That was the Dharma,
Yeah. Well, that's the Dharma that Prabhupada tried to set up in English, in ISKCON anyway.
Yeah, for ISKCON too. That's the what you call the ideal.
Yes.
Not everybody come immediately to that ideal.
Yeah.
That's why there is a gradual process of purification.
Yes.
But I mean to say, we have to understand the broader mind of Vedic culture, which include everyone. We emphasize too much detachment, renunciation, but we should understand not everybody is ready for this kind of immediate renunciation.
Yeah.
And it came to him by destiny. He wasn't looking for young girls to marry, being old. He didn't look for that. Just by destiny came to him. When something comes to you by destiny, without looking for it, you accept it.
Yeah.
That's simple. No? And he didn't have a vow of, he wasn't sannyasi, I mean to say.
No, he
wasn't brahmachari either,
Of course, we don't get any of the backstory of why he was hiding, in a wormhole.
He was in meditation. He was absorbed in meditation.
Okay.
He was a sage. Maybe not a pure Vaishnava, most probably, but a great, powerful sage. He had powers, not an ordinary man.
Not at all.
Yeah.
I think maybe for you and others, Naveen, the confusing thing is that the fact is he was an old man, and even if, anyways, it's confusing for people because he's an old man, and then a woman comes, and in the verses there, it says that he expressed interest in her.
Yeah.
And the father, understanding the sage's mind that he had interest in this young woman, he said, okay, you could take my daughter. So that's the confusing thing, I think, for people, is that why if he was an old man, was he expressing interest in this young woman, you know?
He was not a pure devotee?
Yeah. So then that's a simple thing. He's not a pure devotee, so that's the answer, everyone.
Yeah.
Now there's also there's the other side. There's the other side. Srila Prabhupada does mention that Cyavana Muni's wife. Okay, I don't even like anyone.
No, but we have an audience.
Yeah. So Srila Prabhupada mentions that the wife, the princess, even though, and it says he was cranky.
Cyavana Muni.
He was really cranky, you know. He was like, wow. But she served him so expertly, so wonderfully, that he was very impressed. He was impressed with how she was brought up, how she managed to look after all of his material needs. So I think also he felt, okay, I have to, you know, I have to reciprocate here. She's really going out of her way. She's stuck with me. I'm in this old body. I can change that because I have this mystic power, and let me reciprocate properly with her. Yes, you know. And yes, thank you for bringing up the point how Srila Prabhupada, he liked plays very much. And there's a very famous, so that play that you're speaking of, the kidnapping of Rukmini, Srila Prabhupada called all the actors to his room. He called all of them. And they were all sitting there, all of them. And then, you know, Prabhupada was beaming. He was very happy. I think he distributed some Mahaprasad to all of them. And then he, you know, he looked at Mother Rasagya.
Yeah.
Lohitaksha's wife, who was a trained actress, dancer, phenomenon, and great devotee. Wow. Fantastic.
Cool.
So then he looked at her, and then he said, she was the best actor. Like that. So he really, and that's famous picture of him on the rocking chair.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's, so yeah, that's... So it's nice that there's devotees around the world that are continuing that.
Yes, it's nice.
Tradition.
You're one of them, obviously.
I'm trying.
One of the best. Hare Krishna.
All right, I think we better adjourn. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Hare Baba.